안녕하세요. 비트의 아버지입니다. 영상 마지막에 구독자분들을 위한 4월 무료 이벤트 진행하오니 참여하시고 혜택 받아보시기 바랍니다. 영상에 앞서 마이클세일러는 소프트웨어 기업 스트래티지의 공동 창립자이자 회장으로 비트코인에 대한 적극적인 투자로 널리 알려져 있습니다. 세일러는 투자 심리가 회복되면 비트코인이 폭발적인 상승세를 보일 것이라고 전망하였습니다. 그는 현재 거시적인 위험 회피 심리가 존재하지만 이러한 국면이 전환되면 비트코인이 강력한 반등을 보일 것으로 예측하고 있죠. 마이클세일러는 비트코인의 장기적인 가치와 잠재력에 대한 강한 신념을 보여주고 있으며 기업의 자산 운용 전략에 있어서도 비트코인을 핵심 요소로 삼고 있습니다.
Bitcoin represents digital capital. That network is $2 trillion today. It's going to be $20 trillion in 4 to 8 years. It's going to be $200 trillion in 20 years. Then it's going to grow faster than every other asset in the world. It's going to continue to grow. Satoshi, many years ago, had this vision for sound money and sovereign money via technology, via modern cryptography, modern semiconductors, the modern internet. And that idea of giving economic power to the individual in the face of the overwhelming power of the collective, when you feel like the government's against you, the banking system against you, the currency is against you, big tech is against you, when you're the little guy, when you're struggling for freedom and struggling in the face of overwhelming power, you need some advantage. And Satoshi created this network that's based on two principles. One principle is integrity, and the other principle is sovereignty. The integrity, we all know, is there'll never be more than 21 million Bitcoin that no one can tamper with, no one can corrupt. Not a nation state, not a company, not a politician. And that idea of a censorship-resistant, unstoppable version of the truth was a first in human history.
It was a first.
And then the second idea is sovereignty. It's like, well, if there is a truth, can you own it? Right? So with Bitcoin, the idea is you can own a Bitcoin and you don't have to trust a bank with it in the custody of a big company. You can take self-custody. And, that was an idea worth nothing for a year. And then it became worth $1 million. And then it became worth $1 billion. And then it became worth 10 billion. And then it became worth 100 billion. And when MicroStrategy, now Strategy, got into business about 4 years ago, it was worth 150 billion. And today it's worth 2 trillion from the US Treasury or the bond to Bitcoin. Our market cap increased from $1 billion to 100 billion. And our enterprise value increased from 600 million to 105 billion. And we went from a $500 million company growing 0% a year, competing against a monopoly, Microsoft, where it's hopeless, to a $50 billion company growing 60% a year. So, if you think about the world today, there's just an inherent force. There's a struggle between capitalism and socialism, between people that believe in freedom and free markets, and those that believe in central planning and collectivism. And if I'm a socialist, I want to take away your guns and your money. And Bitcoin is money that they can't take away. Like, what freedom do you have if you have all of your money in a bank that can freeze it? What freedom do you have if you have your money embedded in a currency where someone can print 4x more of it without your approval and debase it to zero? What freedom do you have if you own real estate in a city where the mayor can put rent control on it or expropriate it, or the governor can tax it away from your family? So Bitcoin represents putting your economic wealth in cyberspace. It's beyond the reach of the mayor, beyond the reach of the governor, beyond the reach of any nation state, beyond the reach of any other company that would do you harm. It is the first time in the history of the human race that you can bind economic energy tightly to an individual, to a family, to your company, and you don't have to ask permission to have economic wealth, to have money, and you don't have to live in fear that someone gets up on a morning and just takes it all away from you to power you down. It won't just take my property away from me. I actually just want to own the wealth. I want to own my money. And Bitcoin is a way for you to convert your capital into digital capital that will last 1,000 years. Your country will be, your company, your country, or your family will be wealthy for generations to follow. You don't have to live in fear. And so where is the money headed in the future? The money's headed to cyberspace. The 21st century is going to be 1 billion AIs thinking 1 million times a second. And what are they going to be using to move their money around? They're going to use digital money because they can't get a bank account. They can't get a credit card. I have to approve my wire transfers from my bank once a week. It takes about 20 minutes, and they ask me on the phone whether the money should move. We've been doing it that way for 50 years. And if you look at the way the digital economy is going to run in the 21st century, it's going to be 1 billion computers thinking 1 million times a second, moving assets at the speed of light.
영상 재밌게 보셨을까요? 마이클세일러의 인터뷰 영상을 정리해보면 비트코인의 성장 전망, 핵심 원칙, 왜 비트코인이 중요한가, 비트코인은 사이버스페이스의 자산, 그리고 마지막으로 미래의 부는 비트코인에 있다는 내용으로 정리가 되겠네요. 비트코인이 조정을 받고 있어 다들 마음적으로 힘드실 텐데 인터뷰 영상 보시고 비트코인의 가치에 대해 조금 더 깊이 생각해보시고 마음적으로 평안을 찾으셨으면 좋겠습니다. 구독자분들이 무료로 참여하실 수 있는 이벤트를 오픈했습니다. 트레이더들이 실시간으로 관점을 분석하고 공유하는 관점방 참여와 불장 대비 포트폴리오 PDF 파일을 무료로 드리고 있습니다. 그리고 앤드류팀 자체 제작 알파비트표 무료체험 신청도 오픈했는데요. 무료 신청인 만큼 받으실 분들은 구독과 채널 알림 설정 한 번씩만 꼭 눌러주시면 감사하겠습니다. 신청 링크는 하단의 더보기란과 고정 댓글에 신청 방법 남겨놨습니다. 구독과 좋아요는 영상 제작에 큰 도움이 됩니다. 시청해주셔서 감사합니다.